I really like these events. They are important to the city of Manassas and certainly to myself, and I think, to you all as well. But it's important to the city because you all are where it's at. So thank you for being here, and thank you for the work that you do in our city every day. So let me get to the prepared remarks, which I hope you'll listen very closely to, because I'm going to call you all out, or at least some of you, and maybe even most of you. So good morning and welcome to the city's 4th annual Business Appreciation Breakfast. I'm here today not only as your mayor, but as a business owner right here in Old Town. For decades, my family's operated in historic downtown, so I know how important it is for location for a successful business. On behalf of the members of the Manassas City Council who are here tonight, Ian Lovejoy, where's Ian? Ian, good to have you. Ken Elston, Ken, where are you? Ken Elston. Mark Wolf is here. I know Mark is here. There he is. And Pam Semester, good to see you. We have a couple of other people that I'd like to introduce as well. Patricia H. Folks is here, our treasurer. And one of the most important people in the lives of our children is our superintendent of schools, Kathy McGorry. By the way, our police chief was unable to make it this morning, but our fire chief is here. Rob, where are you? We should always make sure that we're on his good side. Let's see, there are many others here that I'd like to introduce, and in fact, I admire the folks that are here, and I've had the chance to talk with many of you. You're special people. I want to, again, thank you for being here. I'm thrilled by today's turnout, and I see more than 100 of our community's leading business women and men. Let's face it, the purpose of being in business is what? To earn. Whether you are a small business like CJ Finn's, by the way, they provided the delicious breakfast here. Applause is appropriate. Another small business, Durrani, provided the coffee. Or, and as you all know, I like to have a little fun, a household name like Krispy Kreme. Or a Fortune 500 company like Lockheed Martin. And Aurora Flight Sciences, who was just purchased by Boeing. 600 employees, purchased by a company that has 150,000 employees. I was just having a conversation about that. Aurora, we're glad you're here. Hope you stay. As a city council, we know that you are the ones that create the jobs and the wealth. Our role is to be business friendly and to create that environment in which you can flourish. Did you know that the city of Manassas has close to 16,000 business establishments within our boundaries? And that number is growing every day. More than 21,000 people commute into the city and about 14,000 commute out. The net difference is a positive for the city. That makes the city an employment center within the greater Manassas area. As a matter of fact, in the last year, the city has welcomed more than 16 new businesses, such as Dominion Mechanical, Lidos, I told you what they did, they'd have to shoot you, and others like Heritage Brewing and Calico Jacks. By the way, Calico Jacks provided the lovely soaps that you're going to take home afterwards. And so you'll know, and I truly believe this, when you succeed, we succeed. As a veteran myself, let me take just a moment of personal privilege. In April, co-founder of Heritage Brewing, Ryan Arroyo. Ryan, stand up, please. Told you I would call people out. Ryan was awarded the Silver Star Medal, our nation's 3rd highest personal decoration for valor in combat. stay standing. Please stay standing. But wait, alongside the Silver Star Medal, Ryan was also awarded the Purple Heart for women's receipts. Well deserved. Proud of you. Many of you joined me last week as we celebrated the one-year anniversary of Centrifuge, the region's first working space in historic downtown. I know there are many more of you this morning celebrating various milestones as well. So let me talk just a second about some of those milestones. I thought I'd take a moment to have a little fun. Many of you know I like to be serious and I like to have fun, but we're going to play a game right now. Would all the business representatives please indulge me and stand? All staff, you got to stay seated. All of you business representatives stand. Anybody working in Manassas? I'd like to see just how long some of you have called Manassas home. There will be a swag bag. By the way, it's all expensive trip to Cancun. I'll leave that one, I'll tell you that one. Okay, so here goes, here goes. If you've been in the city for more than a year or more, please remain standing. So what that means is if you haven't been in the city for at least a year, seated. We'll talk about you all more in just a moment. If you've been in the city for more than 5 years, please remain standing. If you've been in the city for more than 10 years, please remain standing. For more than 20 years, please remain standing. By the way, Okras, 20 years. The Things I Love, 20 years. Creative Brush Studios, 26. Battlefield Wealth Planning, 27. Wow. If you've been in the city for more than 30 years, please remain standing. By the way, Dr. Bass and Mrs. Bass, our Vice Mayor, wasn't able to be with us, and Mr. Avaney wanted to be sure that I recognized him. He had business responsibilities. Ms. Bass is ill, so they couldn't be with us. But Bass and Rose optometrists, an astounding 75 years serving the residents of our community. Now, since we've got people still standing, and this swag bag is so important, I'm going to start over here and say, how long?
32.
30? 32? 32.
37.
37. Rick? 32. Jim?
Since 1964.
Okay, somebody do the math.
It's 54 years.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
31.
Rob? Okay. I see Ms. Wine.
Oh, I don't know what the exact date is, but like over 60.
Over 60. Okay. So that's the highest one yet? Chip?
40 for my soccer camp.
For your soccer camp, of course, others before that. So I think, you all correct me if I'm wrong, that it goes to the Wine family.
Oh.
Inspiring how long some of you have served in the city of Manassas. For those of you just starting out, I thank you for choosing Manassas and wish all of you continued success. And I am honored to preside over this breakfast today to celebrate all that you do for Manassas, a great place to do business. The City Council and I remain committed to fostering an environment that allows you as businesses to thrive and to grow. It's now my pleasure to introduce to you a person the city hired to help ensure that that happens. Patrick Small, the city's Director of Economic Development.
Good morning again, everybody. I'm going to try to get through my remarks quickly so we can get to our keynote.
Too long. That's too long, right?
So I want to thank the City Council, the City Manager, my peers, the department heads, and the city organization, without whose leadership and commitment to economic development and customer service, none of this is possible. But everyone in this room has an investment in the community, and I'm grateful that I get to work for each and every one of you. I want to take a few moments, have you take a few moments now or as soon as you have a chance to review the two marketing pieces that are at your table. Our new 2017 annual report, which will guide some of my remarks, and our new community profile. These are intended to inform you and to market the city as a great place to do business. Many of the things that we highlight in that profile are probably very familiar to you and the reasons why you are actually doing business here in the city. I want to thank Nicole for pulling those pieces together, as well as for the hard work she did in coordinating this morning's breakfast. As I go through the remarks and talk about the great things happening in the city and the advantages of doing business here, I want to ask that each and every one of you take to heart that your voice is our greatest marketing tool. I hope all of you encourage your peers to bring their businesses to Manassas, your employees to live in Manassas, and that you tell everyone you know to shop here, dine here, drink here, KO, Heritage, and others, and to visit Manassas. This is a small community, and those things really do matter. In the back of our annual report, you'll see that by all accounts, our economy is strong. Key performance indicators we use to measure our economic health are all trending in the right direction. 96.5% employment rate, full employment by most accounts. Household incomes, median home prices, number of business establishments, meals and sales tax receipts, and visitors to our community all increased year over year. Significant progress has been made at the Landing at Cannon Branch, the largest mixed-use development project in the city's history. Stanley Martin completed the first phase of the residential section and is now selling units. A great place for your employees to live. Heritage Brewing has approved site plans. We'll begin construction this summer with a goal of opening in early 2019. As the mayor mentioned, last year our department directly assisted 16 new businesses and helped 14 to expand. This includes those recognizable companies like Leidos, as well as Dominion Mechanical, one of the metro area's leading providers of mechanical and electrical solutions in the construction industry. I'm thankful that the city leadership has provided me the tools to be able to attract and retain these businesses, including a robust incentives package, which is very important in today's competitive business environment. In addition to the economic gains, many of you made your own headlines. Aurora Flight Sciences, as the mayor mentioned, acquired by Boeing this past year, and while we have all been very proud of Aurora for many years, their acquisition by Boeing seriously enhances our city's brand identity. Others of you received rewards in recognition of your contributions to the community from the city and the chamber. Shining Soul, the City of Manassas Business of the Year. Girani Coffee, Micron, Weber Rector, Hepburn & Sons, ACTS, Impacto Youth, all honored at the Chamber's annual event. 9 of the 11 categories or somewhere thereabouts went to City of Manassas businesses. And that's a testament to the good things those businesses are doing. But as I say in my remarks in the annual report, in my opening comments there, we have to be careful with success. Job and wage gains will tighten the labor market and present challenges for you, as well as increasing business costs. Each year we survey our top 10 major employers, and this year 3 of them specifically commented on workforce challenges. More than 100 vacancies in engineering, software development, and programming, clinical professions, and technicians, all higher wage, higher skilled jobs, open right now today at just those 3 companies. Many of them can be filled through career and technical education or by certifications. And as a community, we should stress these career choices and attract new residents with these in-demand skills. With those in the community that say we need more and better paying jobs in our community, I agree. But I would also say those jobs are here now and our employers need help filling them. So on that note, and without further ado, allow me to introduce our distinguished guest, Mr. Scott Ralls. Scott has an impressive background, which is in your program, and you can read. He's currently the president of Northern Virginia Community College, so please join me in welcoming Scott.
Morning. It is an honor to be here with you. It's a great looking group here. Thank you for giving me this stage for just a little while. And Patrick, I appreciate that introduction. If you look at my bio, you might quickly tell I'm kind of a non-traditional college president, if you will. For some people that works out well. Some people they wonder about that. But for me, I think it works out okay at Nova because we're somewhat of a non-traditional college, and we're proud of who we are at Nova. One thing that makes us non-traditional, and sitting by Ryan, it was an honor to sit by you. I did not know until we all stood up about your service and your sacrifice. But being non-traditional, we have 15% of our student body at Nova is veterans or active duty military, and that's something that makes Nova unique. It's not just who we serve, but the students that we serve. And so very proud to be a non-traditional college. We are proud to be Manassas College, and great things going on at Manassas campus. We're proud to be Prince William's College. We have 6 campuses, but we only have one county that has 2 of our campuses, so we're proud of that. And we're proud to be this region's community college, and to this great region and what is going on. If you see us today on television or any of our advertising, we talk a lot about being boldly Nova. We use the term bold a lot. That's the way we want to be, and that's where we want to be in terms of workforce, which is very key to our strategic goals. And I think that probably, if you're in the business community, it's something that you are worried about. It may be something that you're a little neurotic about right now. I will suggest to you that if you are very, very worried about that, you are not crazy. You are not neurotic. There was data that came out just on Tuesday that shows the challenges that are out there for employers. And while we're on the supply side, we're also on the hiring side as one of the biggest employers in the region. So I share those challenges. But on Tuesday, the Department of Labor showed that we have, for the first time in 20 years, reached a point over 20 years where we're at 1-to-1 employment, meaning there are the same number of people looking for jobs right now as the number of job postings. So that's down from a high of 6.9 seekers per job at the height of the recession to where now we're at 1-to-1. And the way employment works and what will happen as we move to April when there's going to be more hiring is that we're going to get actually below. And you know as well that that 1-to-1 doesn't mean that everybody who comes in to apply for your job has the skill set that you're looking for. And that's probably the biggest challenge of the employment challenge right now, is while we're at 1-to-1, it's much worse than that. And that's why Gallup, a few years ago recently found that 80% of the overall population feels we need to be doing a lot more about talent development, and that's where education comes in, that's where workforce comes in, that's where higher ed comes in. And a real challenge that I think for all of us and for you is us to a certain extent. Traditional higher ed, the traditional way in which we produce the talent that is there. A lot of times we're not nearly as bold as we should be in meeting those challenges. You move much faster than we do in higher ed, and that can be a real challenge. We like in higher ed, traditional higher ed, we like feasibility studies and committees, and there's nothing wrong with that. We got to hit the targets, but sometimes those drag on for just a little while. We really like pilots. We like doing things with just a small number and seeing if that's going to work, and then maybe over a decade we'll scale up. But when you have the demands that we have right now, sometimes these efforts take too long. And so I want to talk to you a little bit at the end about what we're trying to do at Nova to be bold in this regard, to meet your challenges, our plans in the immediate future, and how we're moving out. But boldness for us means moving at scale and moving quick, and I'll talk to you a little bit about that at the end. But it is a challenge for education, and Kathy, it's great to see you here. She's done such a great job and such a great partner for us, and our friends from GMU and others that are here. They are unique in this regard. They are not slow movers. They are not timid in this regard. But for us, education has to move quicker. And when I was in North Carolina, before I was here, I was president of the North Carolina Community College System. We had 58 colleges in North Carolina, and we moved pretty quick and pretty fast for workforce in North Carolina. But even then, we moved too slow and too timid. And I used to, in fact, use examples from the business community from my experiences when I was in this region 30 years ago to just show that economic time typically moves faster than educational time. I used an example when I was in graduate school 30 years ago at the University of Maryland. I had a friend who graduated a year behind me in college, came to this region to live on the couch of my best friend who lived in this region. Randy was a guy who lucked into everything, it seemed like, and within a year he was working at a small little Northern Virginia company called Quantum Technologies. In a couple of years, Quantum Technologies turned into America Online. Randy held a unique position there. There was only about 50, 100 people there. I was able to be one of the first beta testers for America Online. Randy kept talking about this internet thing's going to be big someday. It's going to be big someday. And of course, you know the story, and within 10 years, I think Randy had cashed out as a millionaire. AOL had the first and largest internet IPO. You know the story. It helped transform this region. Same time I was at the University of Maryland, as a grad student, there was a young undergrad who was walking around the University of Maryland at the time. I did not know him. I like to imagine I passed by him. I wish I had gotten to know him at the time. He was he graduated from high school in Greenbelt, Maryland. His father was actually a professor at the University of Maryland. He graduated in '93 with a bachelor's degree in computer science and mathematics. And within a decade's time again, he had started one of the most successful technology IPOs, which was Google. And then within 14 years, he's now, one of the 13 richest people in the United States. So, in a decade, things moved quickly. When I was in grad school, I had a buddy, it was 1989, and he took off to Berlin because they took the wall down. I've got a little prop here I brought with me that he brought back with me. He brought back to give me a piece of the Berlin Wall at that time. Within 10 years, economists pointed out that something changed significantly for American workers, that we then started competing, workers in America, against twice as many people through the opening of the Soviet republics, China, India, as they started to open up. And I noticed it very clearly because at that time, a little over 10 years later, I was Vice President of Workforce Development for the North Carolina Community College System. And I came back to this region to go to the National Biotech Conference where economic developers were recruiting all the biotech companies. And I was blown away that the biggest boosts there were China and Russia and other countries which 10 years or so before weren't even part of the economy. And here they were competing for economic development. So in a 10-year period of time, the economy had moved so fast that countries we had never even thought about competing against were some of our greatest competitors. Now, I used the example of the decade and how we needed to move quicker in North Carolina when I was the college president there and trying to get things built. I used a picture, which I can't have the prop here because we don't have PowerPoint, but I had a picture of an intersection in Dubai that over a 10-year period grew from just sand to what looked like a New York City intersection. And I put it against a parking lot we built at our college campus, which was not quite 10 years, but it was about 8 years from conception to design, to getting state approval, the regulations, to when students actually were parking there. And to me, that was kind of an example of academic time does not move as quickly as education time. And part of it, I think, is because we don't scale, and we don't think about education as economic development. I like to tell a story of my home state. I'm now Virginian, but when I grew up in North Carolina at a time that was very unique for North Carolina. When I was born in North Carolina, we were one of the poorest states in the country. We used to say, thank God for Mississippi in North Carolina. Apologize to everybody from Mississippi, we were usually 49. But in 1959, there was a unique governor who came to town. He was a business governor. First time there, this business economic governor. He had two really crazy ideas. One was to build a technology park in a pine forest between 3 universities. And that eventually became the Research Triangle Park, the largest research-focused technology park at that time. But at the same time, he also had an idea of creating a network of 50 industrial education centers all across our state in North Carolina at that time. In fact, there was a house where the people worked on both floors. The university folks on one floor, and these new, they didn't call them community colleges at the time, so they weren't really community college folks, thinking about technical education and technology education at the same time in a house in Raleigh. And all of a sudden, those centers created, and that became the community colleges. And North Carolina went from having, over a 40-year period, being 69% per capita income to 94% per capita income. And I didn't think it was a mistake. I think it was because moving at scale and having a vision. And in a lot of ways, I think that's where we have to be now. We have to move at a faster rate and greater scale because your challenges are moving much faster than ever before. So I'd like to just quickly, in conclusion, and then entertain some questions for you, tell you ways, just to give you a loaded gift with some pessimism to go with your coffee this morning. But I want to give you a little bit of optimism because this is a unique region. And as I noted, when I was here 30 years ago, I saw this economy in this region move differently than other places I've been, and that was a real reason I wanted to get back here, because of those opportunities. But that means we got to move. We got to move with this economy in terms of boldness, in terms of quickness, in terms of scale. One thing that's happening in terms of scale that I'll tell you about, and Tim, we were sitting together, Tim and Neil from Micron, we serve on the Go Virginia Council together, and there's several, I don't know if there's anybody else here from Go Virginia, but one of the things that we're doing with Go Virginia, if you know Go Virginia, it's a new state-funded initiative to really put money into efforts to develop the economy. And in Northern Virginia, one thing we're not doing, like some other regions, is fighting over, are we a region or not? We pretty much know who we are as a region. And so we've moved forward in that regard, but we've also thought about what's the most important thing we should focus on, and that has generated the focus around what we call the tech talent pipeline. The tech talent pipeline meaning that, you know, our issues aren't so much about having to build shell buildings or worrying about getting, you know, the next new company, although we'll keep fighting for that. Our real issue is how do we make sure we have the tech talent, the talent to produce. And that has produced a great conversation around the table with business leaders like Todd Yates from Boeing, who's on that council, and John Wood from Telos, who's cybersecurity, who's really been a force in these regards. And we're thinking about then how we combine these things together. So Tech Talent Pipeline is becoming a concentrated initiative of how we fund with special funding from the state and link together issues that deal with K-12, awareness of careers and career development and a focus there. Apprenticeship, and I'll tell you just a little bit about that in a second, that we're very focused on. Veterans employment, which is a key opportunity for us in this region that Northern Virginia Technology Council is really taking a lead on. And then having the programs, and particularly partnerships like ours with George Mason, because to be honest with you, this region needs its public schools to work, Nova to work, and George Mason to produce more than other regions, because we're not like other regions that attract so much talent from the outside. People don't naturally move to Northern Virginia. It's a little difficult to move here, but we've got the jobs, and that's why internal growth in Northern Virginia is so important. And so I think one of the things just to pay attention to the future, and perhaps to, you know, as we come back, is some of the folks to talk about what's happening with the tech talent pipeline that Go Virginia is really pushing and how that can move, because that's an opportunity to move at scale, not any one group, not any one sector, but trying to move collectively together strategically in core areas. And I'm really, really excited about that because I think about what it means to scale. Now, Nova, let me just step back and tell you some things we're doing. We're trying to move boldly, and that means moving at scale and moving quickly in terms of workforce development. It doesn't mean we're just moving helter-skelter. There's some things that we have to think that are going to be 10 years out for us to get to, but there's some areas we're very focused on right now. A lot of the effort that is right now is focused in the nexus or in the areas of information technology, engineering technology, and healthcare. Now, we didn't just pull those out of the hat. The reason why is last year, 38% of the jobs that were posted in this region were in those three areas. And so those are areas for us to go deeper, quicker, and move faster. And so as we do that, we kind of pursue a strategy that I like to call the 4 Ps. We have to focus on programs, partnerships, people, and places. I'm going to start with partnerships first because I think that's most important, and I do think there's some unique things that are happening there. First, a partnership I'd like to mention that is just kicked off last week that is unique for us and for George Mason, and I think can be transformational and is getting some national attention. So one of the big challenges we have in terms of producing is the cost of higher education. And that's a bigger challenge in Virginia than most other states because we have higher cost public education because we don't have as much state support for higher education. You can look at the correlation. But it's too high regardless of what the state support is. We have to do more to push people out. And the other challenge is that so many students then turn to community colleges as a starting point. But the challenge can be that something they don't know on the back end, that when if they graduate from a four-year public university, on average, they have 17 more credits than someone who started the university because those credits don't always align. That's why you hear things that are academic terms like articulation and 2+2. Well, George Mason and ourselves are blowing up that whole idea and taking it to a whole nother level. We are not talking about, we have developed joint admissions between our two institutions because what's unique for our institutions, over half of our graduates who transfer go to George Mason. Over half of George Mason starting students start as transfers, most of them coming from Nova. Our students' pathways are across most institutions. So what will happen at Nova for the first time next year is in 21 majors, you can be jointly enrolled in both institutions. You'll have a joint ID from both institutions. You'll have resources. You'll be able to go to Mason and take advantage of resources at Mason if you're a Nova student. You will have a pathway that is clearly defined, 60 plus 60, no wasted credits all the way through. You will save $15,000 by starting at Nova on fees and tuition, and on the back end, a semester's worth of credits that you could have lost without that kind of model. That's something that's not happening anywhere else in the United States, and I think that's transformational. And I will tell you, most of the sacrifice for this is through George Mason, so the leadership of George Mason, I just applaud all the time. What we're going to be doing with George Mason this summer, though, is we have a skunk sports team we're putting together on our technology area to step back, look at our program areas, and make sure that we've got the right technology programs, and there can be seamlessness moving from areas like cyber and engineering tech. So working with Ken Ball and Ball School and others, we have a team that's collectively working towards that. So those kinds of partnerships, I think, are something that will make us unique in education. We're focused on programs, and an area of programs on Monday, I was telling Tim, Monday, that's coming up soon, our board will initiate 3 new programs that are directly targeted to hitting the technology community. First new program being in mechatronics that will be located here at the Manassas campus. We're putting millions of dollars of investment into this effort that's going to serve the companies like BAE and Micron and others that have been struggling for engineering technicians. And so that will be approved and rolls out next fall. We have a new program that we're starting that will be key for this county as well, which is our new data center operations program. As you know, we're the hub for data centers. And so we have worked to create a new technician program in data centers, which is really taking the notion of being an electrician on steroids and what that means in terms of data centers. And then we'll roll out a new cloud computing program, which we were one of 3 colleges partnering with Amazon, across the community colleges partnering with Amazon, in the design of what is a new cloud computing degree to lay on top of our IT degree. So we're moving quickly in programs, but it's also not just specific new degree programs. We're thinking differently, and that programs have to be other than degrees, credentials, certifications, the Fast Forward program, and that's going to lead to a new effort around apprenticeship. It's a partnership with Northern Virginia Technology Council, Amazon Web Services, and also Northrop Grumman, and then we will be adding others. So if there's any other tech companies primarily that are interested in apprenticeship, this is going to be a unique regional apprenticeship program. Last year, we became the first college on the East Coast to be Amazon's prime partner in apprenticeship, their new apprenticeship program. And within a year, we have moved to be their primary education partner. We're not only providing the apprenticeship support for Amazon Web Services in our region. Right now, from our colleges, we are also providing education in Chicago, Dallas, and Atlanta for Amazon Web Services. of trying to move forward, not just in the degree areas, but in the important non-degree areas and making a big play into apprenticeship. I mentioned partnerships and programs because I think that's key, but also key to that, we have to have places. You know, you don't do workforce development in traditional classrooms. They take high-tech labs, they take shops, they take just different places, and we have to have more places. 4 years ago, we introduced our cybersecurity program with 50 students. 4 years later, it has 1,500 students. So we need new places. In the last 3 years, we have opened the new Workforce Center in Woodbridge, 80,000 square foot center, which is a jewel gem for workforce development. And on top of that, we have opened 2 new technology centers, the Battleview Technology Center in Manassas, where mechatronics and cyber and IT programs will be, our partnership with Micron. We just opened a new technology center in Reston. That's where our Amazon apprenticeship is headquartered, and also new IT areas. And we're renovating a new facility, and that's what I'll be going to when I leave here, in Alexandria on campus, which will also have our first technology early college, our first real, we'll have a high school located on our campus. So moving forward in terms of that. And then finally, it all is about people, and that's what workforce development is about. And the challenge for all of us is how do we get to the right people? It's also how we keep the right people. That's the big challenge. But, you know, it can be a particular challenge for a community college, because if we're relevant, here's what, if we are truly relevant, which is most important for us in workforce development, it's important for us to make sure that all of our instructors have the certifications that are demanded by industry so they can teach to those certifications. We believe heavily in having those third-party assessments. It also means we have those instructors work one-on-one with those industries and engage with them on a weekly and monthly basis. And so when we invest in them with that professional development and we send them out to industry, sometimes that's like putting a target on the back and saying, hire me, hire me. And so one of the things we're trying to do too, also through fundraising, is trying to make sure that for our key faculty in areas, and we have our first endowed chair in the community college system, with some of these key technical skills, can we increase our funding with private funding for these key faculty positions, so at least they're closer to the average of what they're paid. But getting the right people is key, and that's why we're very focused in these technical areas. We're reorganizing differently. We have right now, we're hiring a new provost in IT and engineering tech, which will be the first that Nova's had. That's what we're going through this week. And so those areas, partnerships, programs, people, and places, but moving boldly and moving quickly, because that's what you're doing. That's what you need us to do. And that's what we're trying to do to be your region's community colleges. Thank you for this time this morning. I'll be glad to take a few questions if anybody has any questions or comments or thoughts or ideas about things we should be moving forward.
I'll be first, because you intrigued me with all the options that you have coming open to the colleges. I have several degrees, and I love Nova. I've got a couple from you guys. But I graduated a few years ago. Would all of that still apply to me? Would I still be able to go, like I want to go back to GMU for a different degree? No, I'm not school crazy, but it's different career field changes. But I wanted to go back. Would I be able to have that partnership if I graduated a few years ago?
From Nova?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, for you, if you're a graduate, what we would then do is work with you as a graduate, primarily with our GMU partners, just to make sure that your credits that you've earned transfer. And if there's anything else you need to take, truthfully, if you graduate from us, you're probably going to be working with GMU. I will tell you, there's no closer higher ed partnership in my mind than between Nova and GMU. And so, if anybody's graduating, they're looking to move forward, then we can help you, but it's probably going to be through our GMU partners. What we're trying to do collectively together is to make sure what could happen to you doesn't happen, meaning that when you came in, you may have taken a few courses that may not actually transfer. And there's not a lot we can do about that right now. Or it could be that GMU's changed some things departmentally that would affect that. So the commitment of what GMU is doing is really unique. They're grandfathering for students that start. So we step back, and for over a year, we have mapped out 21 degrees, and we think there'll be close to 50 by next year that are seamless, meaning no loss of transfer And if GMU changes in a period in which a student is enrolled in both institutions, you're grandfathered. So what I can't guarantee you is that every credit will transfer that you took in Nova at George Mason. That's what's going to be new for students that come in that take part in that advanced program. But we're moving forward that it won't impact students, but in a way that it could have impacted you before.
Yes. I understand that the technical talent pipeline is critical, but just as critical is the development of the leadership pipeline. How does NOVA contribute to doing that? Both together are critical to ensure sustainable economic development.
I think it's a couple of things. One of which is when we talk about tech talent, and a lot of reasons we talk about tech talent is because of the unique tech economy this year. But one thing when we talk about tech talent, I'll just give you an example, is that when we talk to our technology employers, which cuts across all employers, they tell us that the most important skills for us to build into our programs are not technology skills. They're primarily communication skills, writing and verbal communication, and problem-solving skills. In fact, that was something we, Northern Virginia Technology Council and NOVA sponsored a regional technology for technology companies skills gap, and we got all the programming and all the languages and everything, but they very much said to us it's about communication and problem solving. So, for instance, with new programs, and we're having this discussion with Amazon talking about the new cloud program yesterday, you see deliberate build-in in terms of the course requirements for those areas, and we're going to be thinking differently about those areas moving forward. I think there's another way, though, that leadership really comes in naturally at NOVA, and one of the things that's an advantage for leadership is having a very active community college student environment. Here's something that can happen at NOVA that is more challenging than if you're at a four-year university, and I saw this yesterday with a great student I was talking to. Our higher level leaders on our campus that are students are in their second year. You know, when you come in as a first-year student at NOVA or second year, you become, in many cases, a leader of student government, a leader of a club, a leader of initiative, and so you have opportunities for those kind of leaderships a little earlier, just because being upper class at NOVA means second year, and so you have some of those similar opportunities. The other thing I'll mention too is I think our faculty are doing some unique things to make sure there's leadership outside the classroom, and one of those things happens in Prince William. Every Saturday at our Workforce Center, faculty and industry leaders get together with our cybersecurity students on Saturdays, and they spend all day Saturdays doing competitions and capture the flag, bringing in leaders from outside of our industry leaders to talk to the students, and they do that on their own time. Both the students, they're not in a class, and the faculty, they're not getting paid for that Saturday. And so those are a few ways that I think you see leadership developing, because it is more than just the technical skills that you're learning by far. Thank you for your time. We appreciate it.
Businesses, Manassas olive oil. Our pleasure. Thank you for those comments. Now, I've always believed that the business community really needs to take a leadership role, not just in local government, but also in education. You know, if I can for a moment just encourage you to be active, to make sure our schools know what you need, our public schools, our K through 12, our community colleges, and communicate with those folks so they're not operating in a vacuum. Let me see, we are concluding the program, so I'm going to thank Scott again. I'm not concluding our program? Oh, Jim Elliott. Our chamber partner that helped us pull this event together. So, here it is. City has a strong partnership with the Chamber of Commerce. I'm 0 for 2 with Jim. So we do have a strong partnership. We value their participation. The city's a cornerstone partner in the chamber. For those of you who are active and engaged, thank you. For those of you who are not, it's a great way to network with our business community. I'd like to thank Debbie and her staff for helping us with the breakfast and advocating for our businesses. And without further ado, I'm going to bring up Jim Elliott, Chairman of the Chamber.
Thank you, Mr. Little. You could watch the tape. It's a city council meeting and Jim Little, yes. Patrick, I've known you a long time. You've known us. And good morning, everybody. For those of you who don't know me, of course, I am Jim Elliott, the current chair of our Prince William Chamber of Commerce, and absolutely honored to be here today and participate in such a just amazing morning so far. Scott, thank you for those comments. It's right spot on where we need to be right now within our community. Most of you may not realize this, some of you may not. Our Chamber of Commerce is located within the city. We're right over by the airport, so we are within the city. Our chamber's been around for 8 years, and prior to that, prior to the merger of the chambers, our chamber was also the Greater Manassas Chamber, was located here, probably longer than some of you have been alive in this room. So we have had a partnership with the city for a very long time. Let's see, I'm going to cut my comments short today. I want to make it real quick because I'm looking at my watch thinking we all want to get back to work and do what we do, but I'm going to start out with one experience, and I'm going to go personal on this, recently about the city of Manassas. First Friday, great night for people, and this was just this past Friday. Centrifuge was celebrating their 1-year anniversary. Congratulations, Bennett and your team. So I was coming down for that, decided, well, we'll stop over at Katarina's for dinner. Had dinner over at Katarina's, fabulous food, awesome time. Then we started walking down towards Centrifuge, and it was a little bit early, so decided to stop at Chinese Soul. Excellent. Definitely have to go back and get the Outer Banks candle. That was awesome with the shells on the bottom. If you haven't seen it, go in and check it out. Then I happened to run into Councilman Ian Lovejoy. Walking down the streets, great, nice to see him. And he grabs me and there's Patrick Small. And say, come on, we're going to a ribbon cutting. So they invite me, we walk over to ribbon cutting, and by the way, that was the second ribbon cutting of the night, I understand. So again, everything going on downtown. And as I'm coming out of the ribbon cutting, I look and, wait a minute, you got John Jenkins. I think some of you might know him as the supervisor in Prince William County. He is sitting outside Zandra's waiting for a table. He's not, he's not getting special treatment. He's having to wait for a table outside Zandra's. Lot going on. Then we head over, of course, to the Centrifuge 1-year anniversary. A lot of folks, a lot of fun time. And I look out the window, and we've got dancers out in the street. It's First Friday. It's a great night. Everyone's having a good time. After that, left that, went down to, how would you end your evening? Over at Jitterbug. Get yourself some ice cream. And that's where we went next after that. And, it was a great way to spend a Friday night. And that is truly, I think, what Mr. Mayor and the council has tried to create here in the city of Manassas. This is America's hometown. I mean, that's what it's modeled after. How you're not, 16,000 businesses in the city. That's incredible. Very impressive. And I commend you all on that. And it's a lot of fun. I commend everybody in this room for locating their businesses here within the city. It's a great place to be. And I'm not going to speak anymore. That's the city. I like it. I love it. And if Patrick, if you can sell me a 10-acre lot, I'll leave here tomorrow. Patrick and I had a conversation one day. He said, 10 square miles, Jim. I got 10 square miles. And I have to make sure I put exactly the right thing there. And Patrick, I commend you and your team and Nicole for what you guys have done and what you've built here and the vision the council has had. So I commend you all on that.
One more round of applause for our speaker, our partner, the Speaker of Things, and our host this morning, the Center for the Arts, and Beverly and her staff. We encourage you to stick around and continue networking for a while if you wish. But that concludes our program. Thank you again. We'll see you all next year.